Hello and welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My name is Karen Seltz. I am your host. And I want to talk tonight about intention. I know we hear the word a lot, and I was just reminded of this. I had a situation where I was doing some like enrollment calls, and I was really in my head because I was working for a new company. I took a part time job doing enrollment for some coaches that I really believe in their work. They are doing phenomenal things, and their mission is very similar to mine. Whole different avenue of doing it. They do relationship coaching, love and dating and relationships. But when I look at it, like my mission is to end suffering for people because I think suffering is optional. Like stuff's going to happen, right? No matter what, life keeps lifing, we like to say. But it occurred to me that because I didn't know their process and the way that they take women through this enrollment journey and enrolling them into their vision, that I was kind of in my head, not kind of, I was in my head and not in my heart. And it reminded me of what I do with the Dr. Joe Dispenza community. I'm a host for what's called a coherence healing team. And we do healing sessions on Zoom for free. We're all volunteers for anybody who wants them. So we have healees, people that come for healing from all over the world. And I love, love, love doing this because I've seen so many people heal themselves. And it is a miracle every single time. And I think Dr. Joe Dispenza says, imagine if you could change your entire life in one meditation, because that is what happens for thousands and thousands of people all over the world. Now, they might be meditating for years before they heal themselves, but it happens if you hear their stories in one single meditation, in one moment, they get an entirely new body. And there are scientific explanations for this that involve quantum physics at the subatomic particle level and all of that jazz. If you're interested in that, go look up the proof tab on Dr. Joe Dispenza's website, and you can get all the research you want. And know that whatever it is you're dealing with, there's somebody who has conquered it, somebody who has overcome it. And being in that community, I see these, we call them stories of transformation all the time. And one of the things that really stood out to me after my second Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreat, which is what he calls his meditation retreats, is set an intention before you meditate. Because when I went to my second one, I'd been meditating every single day for an entire year. I hadn't missed a day. But what was I not doing? Setting an intention, like having a reason. I was just doing it to do it. Like, okay, I'm just committed to this. I'm going to meditate every single day. And that really made a difference for me. Okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is it important to me? What do I want out of this? What do I want to feel, experience, become? And there's so many stories like this. I'm going to share another one. So not when I first started coaching, but at some point I had hired a business coach and really designed to help me grow my business. And I decided that I was single at the time, that I wouldn't date for an entire year so I could really focus on my business, because I had a history of starting to date someone and then pouring all my time, energy, attention into that person and not paying any attention to myself, my goals, what I wanted. Now, if you know me, you might not know that about me because that was a really long time ago. And I was a completely different person back then. So I made this decision not to date for a year. And after that, I kind of, would go on an occasional date, but I was so used to being on my own that I became almost love avoidant. And I was going through this leadership training. I was actually coaching in it. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready for a relationship. So I set this intention that I would be in a committed relationship within 3 months. And I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen, right? And I used to go and do work at Starbucks because it got lonely working from home by myself all the time. So I would go to Starbucks and I would work. I'd get my computer out and do my stuff. So before I went one day, I just set the intention of being open, of my heart being open. And mind you, I was head down at the computer working. I wasn't like, making eye contact with anybody. I wasn't flirting. I was doing none of that. But I had set the intention, very clear intention ahead of time with no expectation of what it would look like, just being open. And I got asked out twice, twice while I was at Starbucks in a couple hours. Like before that, nobody asked me out at Starbucks. Like it just didn't happen. And I'm like, what is happening? Right? Like, isn't that bizarre? Not really, if you know the power of intention. So I invite you to get clear on what it is that you want. And not only that, but why do you want it? Why is it important to you? If you've never had anybody stand for you and really help you get clear on your vision, like what do you want to experience in your relationships, your health, your career, your finances, your social life, your hobbies, your spirituality? What do you want to experience there? And why? Why do you want to experience it? Once you know your why, and you've probably heard this, but the why that makes you cry, and if you have never had anybody stand for you and really help you evoke this, I invite you to do this for yourself. Like book a call with a coach. You can book a call with me. I would love to help you get clear on what it is that you want to create. We're coming up on a new year. What better time than to go within and really get clear? Because where were you this time last year? I mean, if it was someplace similar, then it's time. It's time to stop waiting and to start using your power of intention. But you can't use it if you don't know what you're aiming at, right? You got to have a target. You have to at least know what you want to feel. What do you want to experience? Now, some people will say, like, I want this much money in my bank account. Well, why? What do you think that will give you that you don't already have? What's the feeling that you want to experience? So that is where the juice is. And that's why New Year's resolutions don't stick most of the time. It's like they're these things, these concepts, and concepts mean nothing to the unconscious mind. It doesn't understand them. So it's like tell a 4-year-old, hey, this will be a successful year for you if your bank account ends $50,000 higher than it did this year. They'd be like, what? Like, what? It's a number. It doesn't mean anything. But if you said, then you could buy, this toy and that toy, you could go to Disneyland, you could fly anywhere you wanted in the world, you could, whatever you think a 4-year-old might like, usually play, right? They want to play. They might want toys. That is understandable to the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is responsible for 95%, maybe even more than everything that you think, feel, believe, and do. And it's responsible for all your autonomic functions in the body, like your digestion, respiration, healing, all that good stuff, your heart rate, your blood pressure. But it also is scanning the environment, right? And see if you're safe. Or, if you get triggered, that's coming from the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind. I use those two terms interchangeably. So you get to get clear on what it is that you want, why you want it, why, what will it give you? What do you want to experience? And then the other thing that I invite you to do is look at what are the costs of not doing it, or what are the impacts of that? So if you really have always wanted to start a business, for example, and you keep doing your corporate job or whatever job you have, and you're miserable there, what is the cost of you being miserable? What is the cost of you not going for your dream? What are the costs on your body, your mind, your emotions, your relationships? Because if you're miserable, trust me, the people around you are feeling it. It is not good for anybody, anybody. So not just financial costs. I mean, that could be part of it, Because if you're miserable in your job, you're probably not going for promotions. You're probably not performing at your best. So you're not being recommended for promotions. So there's a lot of different costs it could be, not just financial. But, I think about when I really wanted to coach, but I was afraid. I was afraid to pick up the phone, or I was afraid to be seen. I was afraid to be on video. Can you believe that? So everything's possible, I tell you. What was the cost of that? Well, I kept becoming more and more miserable. And also, I became resentful of other people that were doing it. And I was judging them like, oh, they're not as good as me. I'm like, yeah, who cares? They're doing the thing. Like, it's not the best people that are successful, it's the ones that are committed and have the intention of serving or of whatever. Like, for me, that's a big part of my purpose is serving. So, I invite you to really get clear. So, what is it that you want? Why do you want it? And I used to do this exercise with my clients. I had a group coaching program for women, and we called it 7 levels deep. And I almost said 7 layer. You ever hear of 7 layer bean dip? 7 levels deep. And I would pair them up and they would question each other. And like, what do you want? What would that give you? Why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? And they would do it at least 7 times. And usually by the sixth or seventh time, they got to something really super juicy. So you can do that for yourself, or you can invite a friend to do it with you. It's a lot more fun that way. It really is. And then you get to really be a part of each other's visions. And then you can be accountability buddies. So you get like, why is that important to you? And then I invite you to get in touch with what are the costs, because when you can see the actual costs, what it's cost you so far and what it will cost you in the future if you don't do it now, because there is a cost. I mean, how much longer are you going to stay small, stay safe, stay hiding, stay comfortable being uncomfortable without taking a risk? Now, I know risks are very scary because, back to the subconscious mind, anything that you haven't done before, it is reading as potentially dangerous. Or if you've been avoiding it for a long time, it's like, well, it must be really, really dangerous and potentially fatal, or else why would I have avoided it for so long? So if it's something that you like, know you should do, I use that in quotes because we all have those things like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and then we beat ourselves up for not doing the shoulds. So don't should all over yourself. Do not do it. But if it's something like that that you've been avoiding, it's going to be really difficult to break it. So you get to, here's what I would recommend. Look at a situation where you did something really scary. Anything at all. You gave a presentation at work in front of your superiors or your coworkers. You entered an endurance race. I mean, whatever it is, you tried something new for the first time, went to a dance class. I mean, that's risky. You're going to look really stupid. Well, really, really stupid if you're me. Not one of my best skills, I'll tell you that. I have 3 left feet. So look at that, review it, and then remind your unconscious mind, like, hey, I survived that. Yeah, I might have looked stupid, but I survived it, because that's the only thing it's really concerned about is your survival. So if you've survived those situations in the past, you are likely to survive them again. And you're like, I survived it. It's over. I'm here. And you can also add to it, like, look who I've become as a result of taking that risk. And you want to give evidence to your unconscious mind that you have survived these difficult or challenging situations where you took a risk, and you will survive them again. And then it can calm down at least a little and regulate your nervous system. So I recommend, like, every night before you go to bed, set an intention. What do you want your unconscious mind to work out for you while you're dreaming? Like, okay, I'm really looking for solutions to this issue, and give it to it. Give that information to your unconscious mind. Like, show me some solutions for this. Show me. And, maybe you'll dream it. Maybe you'll have some type of inspiration when you wake up. But that's what you're opening up to, setting an intention. And then in the morning, the moment you wake up, I highly recommend you do this. It's from the Artist's Way. I get to start doing it. As I say this, I'm like, this is such a good idea. I forgot about it. It's called stream of consciousness writing while your brain waves are still very slow, which means your conscious mind isn't on board yet. So you're either in theta or alpha, which is like theta is pretty slow. That's like that half dreaming, half awake, half sleeping, half awake state. Alpha is kind of when you're chill. It's like when you're watching TV and you don't have any thoughts, you're just kind of engrossed, or you're in meditation and your thoughts have slowed way down. So beta is the brainwave state like I'm in right now. Like I'm thinking, I'm using my conscious mind. I'm not stressed out, but I'm aware. I'm very much aware of everything that's happening. If a loud noise happened, I would hear it, I would respond. So beta is what we're in most of the time. If we're very stressed out, our brain waves go even faster, and that's high beta. So there's high beta, there's beta. Alpha is like you're in meditation or a hypnotic state. And theta is when you're starting to fall asleep or starting to wake up. And then delta is very, very slow. That's like that deep sleep, that REM sleep. So right when you wake up, in the Artist's Way, the book, the author recommends writing 3 pages without stopping. You just write 3 pages, stream of consciousness, without censoring. You just write whatever comes to mind, even if it's, I don't know what to write, because I've done that lots of times. And that really will support you in seeing, is your intention working? Because it starts to get all that stuff out and brings it up to the surface. And then after that, you can set an intention for the day. What is it that you want to experience? Now, I recommend, what emotional states are you committed to being in? And then Dr. Joe recommends doing this, which I think is amazing. Like, what thoughts will I not let pass? And it's the thoughts like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. Oh, I'm not good enough. Why bother? I'm not even going to try because I know I'm going to fail. Like those ones that are in there that we don't think about because they're unconscious. But if you start becoming conscious of them, then you have some control over them. You can say, hey, oh, I got you. I see what you're trying to do there. And I like to play with mine because, I'm me and I like to have fun with things. But if I get the voice like, oh, they're probably not going to answer the phone when I call. Like if I'm thinking about cold calling or calling somebody out of the blue, they probably won't answer. Why call? I'll just text because it's easier. It's less risky, less chance of being rejected. So I start busting myself, not myself, but yeah, the unconscious part of my mind that's throwing those things, trying to keep me safe. So what thoughts will I no longer let pass my awareness? They won't slip beneath my awareness. I'm watching for them. And write those down and be aware, be on the lookout for them because they're subtle. And then they'll shift to a slightly different flavor. So then the next day you get to be aware of those and it just keeps building. We're never not aware. Ooh, I like that. Double negatives. We're always aware, right? And we get to keep being aware that we're aware that we're aware. I'm being Dr. Joe, just being silly. So you're setting an intention. What do you want to experience? And some people like to say, oh, I'm going to create this. Now, that's great, but what if you don't? I personally like to set myself up for success. My intention is to reach out to call 10 people today for my business and to record a video and send an email, whatever it is. And while I'm doing that, I want to experience spaciousness, love, generosity, whatever it is I want to experience. The other thing, if you're communicating with others, what do you want them to feel when they're on the other end of your communication? That is such an important thing to have that intention. Because if you do, how much more likely are you for that person to receive it that way? I mean, think about it. It makes complete sense, but how often do we think about things that way? I love that. So have an intention of how you want people to feel when they are experiencing your communication, however it looks, writing, speaking, whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, review, like, how did I do? What was my intention? And what results did I experience? What did I create? And then, of course, this, but be grateful. Be so grateful that, wow, I got like 70% or 50%, which is way more than you would have if you hadn't have set the intention. So intentions, they direct our energy. And I want to talk a little bit more because I just did a couple of RRT, rapid resolution therapy sessions for this woman, and she is absolutely blown away. She did bunches of therapy. She's had tons of trauma, especially with romantic partners. And I did one session, we were focusing on one man that she is no longer in a relationship with, but she works with him. So she has to see him every single day. And even seeing his vehicle as she pulled up to the office used to send her into a bunch of trigger responses. So we cleared it. And she's like, I don't know how to explain this to my friends. Like, I don't know what you did, but there's nothing. I'm completely neutral. I said, well, do you remember my intention for you was for you to be neutral? That was my intention, for her to be neutral around him. Like he could be a doorknob, really. Like there's no emotional charge. And before I go into a session, I set a general intention that the person's mind will be entertaining only thoughts that have value about things that are possible to do and good to have done. And then it attaches pleasure, interest, and appeal to doing those things that would be good to have done, and satisfaction in having done them. And then while they're speaking, telling me how things have been, I start seeing them how I would like them to be. And that my mind is forming this very clear intention. And then I share it with them and say, would that be okay? Because sometimes, like, say a woman's been sexually abused and she's put on weight as a protection mechanism. And she says, oh, I really want to be thin. In her, this part of her mind, her conscious mind, she's like, yes, I want to be thin, I want to be healthy, I want to be able to do things with my kids. But this part of her mind's like, if you're thin, you're going to get raped again. So I'm looking for unconscious conflict and then resolving that. And then once she's okay with it, then we move on. And I do what comes to mind to cause it, to cause her mind to not focus on anything in the past, because is it possible to do anything about something that's happened already? No, you can't change it. It's done. You've already survived it. And then things that would be good to have done. So would it be good to eat a chocolate cake? Yeah, it might be really good. Would it be good to have done it? No, it will feel awful in so many ways, right? So then her mind starts looking ahead. What will I feel like if I eat this whole cake? Oh, not so good. Maybe I should just have a tiny slice, right? And that creates magic. And I'm responsible for creating that. And it creates magic. So if you want to experience that in any way, please, please, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me on my website, KarenSeltz.com. You can email me, Karen@KarenSeltz.com. I'll link it in the show notes. And there's no need for you to be suffering anymore. It's quick, it's painless, it's actually fun. So let's get some stuff moved for you. There's no need to suffer. Suffer no more. All right. Thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'll see you right here next week. Bye.